am not lying, Your Honor. I pay you respect.
And you'll bring it on. Bring it on.
Conflict and acrimony at Harris County Commissioner's Court. Why did Judge Lena Hidalgo misstate key facts surrounding a controversial $11 million COVID contract? At the state capitol, Republicans pushing through billions more for border security as hordes of immigrants cross into Texas. Could a new court ruling ease the mounting pressure? And despite full FDA approval for Pfizer, Governor Greg Abbott renews his opposition to vaccine mandates. Could that commitment ultimately cost some Texans their lives? I'm Greg Groogan, and welcome to What's Your Point, where our panelists call it like they see it. Let's greet them. Starting us off, well-known conservative commentator Gary Polland. Next up, writer, educator, and Chicano activist Tony Diaz. In the 3 spot, acclaimed restaurateur and host of Fish, Grits, and Politics, Marcus Davis. Next up, longtime Houston journalist and social worker with the Houston Area Women's Center, Chow Win. And closing us out, Charles Blaine, founder of Urban Reform. Let's begin. As thousands of Texans languish in hospital rooms across the state, Governor Greg Abbott doubled down against any vaccine mandate, despite the full FDA approval granted Pfizer. Spurred in part by controversial gift card giveaways from local governments, including Harris County and the city of Houston, the percentage of folks in our state who've received at least 1 dose of the vaccine now stands at 56. Health experts continue to hope the full approval granted Pfizer will ease the safety concerns of the reluctant and spur leaders like Abbott to free employers to insist on inoculation for their workers. But panel, the governor is not budging. My question to you, is that a potentially deadly mistake or a justified preservation of individual liberty? I'm going to start with you, Charles Blaine.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to say preservation of individual liberty, because you have to draw that line somewhere. You know, what he's saying is that government entities and entities that receive public funds cannot mandate vaccines. Take Montana, for instance, which went a step further and said that employers in the state of Montana cannot mandate vaccines on their employees. He hasn't injected himself into that level of the conversation, but has said that anybody receiving public funds can't do so. And I think that's an interesting way to kind of go about it, because you really don't want government mandating vaccines on people. If people are hesitant to get them now, they'd be even more hesitant if government comes in and says, you must get this. You know, and if you look at certain things, like I know we're going to talk later in the show about an $11 million contract in Harris County. Well, when you look at the vendor who got that contract, the subcontractors that they're hiring, they're requiring folks who have vaccinations on there. So there is still some vaccine mandates here in Texas, but what he is saying is that so far is that people who receive public funds should not be able to mandate them.
Tony Diaz, I'm guessing you have a different view on this.
Yes, well, I suppose Governor Abbott is not injecting himself into some arguments. He has injected himself with the vaccine. And additionally, once he caught COVID, he injected himself with Regeneron, which I'm trying to get Regeneron for people. I don't know how you get it. I don't know if every Houstonian and Texan has access to that. So it seems to be very hypocritical for governors like him and DeSantis in Florida to worry about their own health first, and then their reelection next, and their mythical presidential campaign before they do what it takes to protect kids in a system, for example, where everybody who's got a kid or went to school knows that if you didn't have your vaccines, you weren't going on field trips, you weren't going on school. So all of a sudden, we're changing policy to play politics with the worst epidemic that has been around in our lifetime. That is appalling. I hope that Texans see through this. And it is dangerous. There was just a story that in California, a teacher spread it by taking her mask off reading to kids.
All right, Gary Polland, you heard it there. Tony says Greg Abbott is pandering to his base.
I don't think so. I think that Greg Abbott believes that the American people in Texas can make their own decisions for themselves. I mean, think about this. we live in a democracy. Do we want a government that is going to dictate what we have to do? Look, I got the shot, I'm also disappointed to now know that I'm going to need a booster after being sold information that turns out not to be true, that if you get a shot, you're fine. Abbott likewise got the shot and then got COVID. So, the science here is not the science we think it is, because it's a moving target. So at the end of the day, I think I trust Texans to do what's best for themselves. I think they need to make their own decisions. And I think the job of leaders is to get the information out there of why you should get the vaccination, why it's a positive thing for you to do. And I think most Texans will, especially since the FDA is now starting to approve some of these drugs that hadn't been approved before.
All right, Chalwin, government tells us to do a lot of things. Wear our seatbelts, get other types of vaccines. What's your take?
Well, you said it in the lead-in. This is a deadly situation. We're in a public health crisis. And the last I checked, most people who were hospitalized were unvaccinated. We have got to get this economy going. We've got to get our communities going, much less we have got to get our schools reopening. I have a number of friends whose kids are home, quarantine, schools shut down because of the spread of COVID. Look, this virus is worse. We're in our fourth surge. We've seen lots of cases, tripling the number of COVID positive cases in the schools. It is time for this economy to get moving. It is time for this public health crisis to be over. We would have been a long ways down the road had people gotten vaccinated.
All right, part of my strategery to leave Marcus Davis for last. You've heard all the arguments, Marcus. How do you come down on this?
Well, one of the things that I heard is that the science is moving. It's like a moving target, but that's because the virus is moving. The virus's number one job is to survive. So it changes. So therefore, the science will change. This concept of personal liberty baffles me, because it's one thing to have personal liberty for yourself, but when your personal liberty infringes on someone else, i.e. variant, then that's when leadership has to step up and take place. And if we allow the delta to go to epsilon and to all the way to gamma and to rho, then we are infringing on the civil liberties of others. And that's what we have to take in consideration. You mentioned it, Greg, this idea. I hate wearing seatbelts. My wife knows I cannot stand putting that seatbelt on. One, because it's constricting, but two, because I feel every time I lock that thing on, that the state of Texas is telling me to do something that I should not have to do. But everybody want to say it's to protect you. But the stats show that I can still die from putting that seatbelt on.
Got to leave it there. Good discussion. Coming up, a critical Supreme Court ruling revives a key immigration tool from the Trump era, as Texas lawmakers prepare to spend more than $1 billion of your dollars defending our state border. In our megaphone poll, we're asking, if it were up to you, how should the $1.8 billion Governor Abbott is requesting for border security be spent? Border security, flood protection, education, power grid, or health care? Vote right now on fox26houston.com or on our news app. And later on in the show, chaos and death in Afghanistan. Is President Biden bungling America's departure? Welcome back. The chaos that is our country's haphazard withdrawal from Afghanistan turned particularly lethal this week when suicide bombings outside Bagram Airport killed more than 60 people, including 13 members of America's military.
We will not forgive. We will not forget. We will hunt you down and make you pay.
As the evacuation continues, U.S. intelligence has identified ISIS-K as the terrorist group responsible for the mass murder. Panel, we knew this was going to be a mess. Was this loss of life predictable or preventable? I'm going to start with you, Gary Pollan. Take 30 seconds.
Yeah, this was a total mess up, and I'm not sure whether Biden didn't listen to his military advisors or they messed up too. If they messed up too, they should be resigning. But look, who in their right mind thinks it made sense to withdraw all our troops, to give up our Bagram Air Force Base, which is not in a major city, and then decide after that, then we're going to evacuate Afghan friends and U.S. citizens? It's ridiculous. Whoever came up with this really messed up bad. And I don't know who it is. I don't know that Biden is getting bad advice or what, but it's a disaster, and it didn't have to be this way. We should have kept the air base. We should have kept our military there and gotten the people out. Now it looks like panic, and for the country in the future, Greg, it's bad. Our enemies are emboldened. Our friends are not confident in us.
All right, I feel fortunate to have Chow Win on the panel this morning. She has a unique perspective. We've evacuated more than 100,000 people. Chow, what's your take?
Well, you know, it's deja vu for those like me. I'm the product of Vietnamese immigrant refugee parents. I came here when I was 2 to Houston, Texas. I would say that Americans have a moral responsibility to get as many Afghan families and allies and of course our American soldiers and personnel there as possible. This is the right thing to do. We were invested for 20 years. We are the leader of the free world, and you see the roots of what's happened to the Vietnamese community. We've got, you know, many success stories and many people living out the American dream and being a part of this society. So I would say let's turn this is a humanitarian crisis. Let's do the right thing.
You know, Marcus Davis, one of those killed at Bagram Airport, was a student at the high school my dad taught at. So this hits everybody. You have friends, you have family who fought either in Iraq or Afghanistan, I believe. You know, what's your take here?
My take is, yes, this is a debacle, but this has been a debacle not just right now, not just 2 years ago, not 3 years ago, but this was a debacle from the beginning. Right? Every president that's had their hands on Afghanistan has botched this up. And I'm sorry, Chow, but America's not who we think we are. We say we're the leading nation. We've been in Afghanistan for 2 decades and could not masterfully put together a succession plan that was effective. We failed miserably, the same way we failed in Vietnam, the same way we failed in Iraq. We are not who we think we are, but we keep acting that way, and that's why we keep getting ourselves in this sticky position. Shame on us for doing this. Yes, I agree with you, Gary. This idea of doing this bass backwards was just ridiculous. It should have been done the other way around, but it should have been done years ago. We have no business being in Afghanistan. And while I am sensitive to refugees, I am also concerned, because I'm concerned one of these planes is packing somebody who harbors ill will against Americans. And I believe we are setting ourselves up for something dangerous to happen.
Okay, Charles Blaine, real quick, just 20 seconds. Do you have any response to that?
Well, no, I mean, I just want to answer the question you asked. Is it predictable or preventable? I think it was preventable and it was predictable when we saw how he botched this response. We left $80 billion of equipment in Taliban and Afghan forces' hands. That's 76,000 vehicles, 208 airplanes, 600,000 small arms and body armor. Then we turned over a list to the Taliban of American citizens, green card holders, and allies as if this was some guest list for a club, hoping that they were going to let us into the airport. And what they did was they turned around and used that to target the folks who helped us.
Got to leave it there. Still to come, 4 years after Harvey, what's truly been done to storm-proof the Bayou City? Could billions from the Biden infrastructure plan fund the long-term protection that we truly need? Welcome back. The 4th anniversary of Hurricane Harvey's devastation came this week, just as the U.S. Congress advanced a $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill. The connection, I hope, is obvious to everyone. Despite the ongoing expenditure of roughly $5 billion to mitigate our community's chronic exposure to flooding, much more is needed to safeguard Greater Houston, the Ship Channel, and its vital petrochemical complex from the genuine hazard of future storms. If there was ever an opportunity to fully fund the so-called Ike Dike, I would think this jumbo, once-in-a-generation infrastructure bill is certainly it. Panel, seems to me every member of the Texas delegation, Republican and Democrat, should be uniting behind this cause. Tony, I think that Joe Biden would have a lot more fans in Houston if he funded the Ike Dike.
It's a no-brainer. Anybody who runs for office should be grilled relentlessly about where they stand about flooding, because that water doesn't care if you're a Republican or Democrat when it comes flooding through the streets. It just goes. And we have been ignoring this for decades. I want to remind folks, you mentioned the Ship Channel. The Ship Channel is a result of federal involvement, federal funds. We can't do it alone on the ground. And I thought Texans were sick of getting flooded. Anytime it rains a little bit, don't forget, your streets flood, your cars get flooded out. But now we're distracted because of all these other tragedies that we're in the middle of. This is the most important issue. We've got elections coming up soon for smaller offices, and then the big offices a year later. But this should be at the front of every single Houstonians and Texans' minds. Demand that they attend to flooding.
All right, Charles Blaine, a Category 3 hurricane smoking up into the ship channel. You want to talk about a neutron bomb on the American economy, knock out our petrochemical industry. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, listen, of course we need the Ike Dike. We also need that third reservoir, but that would require our congressional delegation to be serious rather than just to go and talk about issues that they can fundraise off of. And the problem is that this is what happens. We talk about this every single time, and then they go back and then they do nothing. Then we get a storm, and what do? They throw on their embroidered fishing shirts with their logo and go stand on the back of a pickup truck and hand out water so they can get a good picture. That's all they do. And so unfortunately, we have not seen anything yet. The Texas legislature did pass a bill last session that created the Gulf Coast, I think, Storm Preservation District to actually deal with the funds when they do come in. But Congress, they need to act, because right now we haven't seen anything from them.
All right, Marcus Davis, if you had a hotline to Joe Biden in the Congress, would you build that? Would you build that Ike Dike?
No, I wouldn't. I would not. And I am offended by the suggestion of it, because it goes against my civil liberties and Texans' civil liberties. Texans should have the right to be flooded like anybody else. They should be able to make the free decision to pick up their bags and get on I-10 and head east or west if it is going to flood here. See how absurd that sounds? Do you see how absurd that sounds?
All right, Gary Pollan, some effective sarcasm there. You want to respond?
Look, the bottom line is we've needed the Ike Dike. It is not like this year. It's all the way back to when the hurricane happened. We spent, $5, $6, $7, $8 billion to repair from what happened. The Ike Dike is a whole lot less than that. It's a national priority, and it's a failure of leadership, local leadership, state leadership, national leadership. For whatever reason, they don't think it's a hot button issue. But I mean, I think that I agree with Tony. This should be issue number one, especially if you live in the Gulf Coast, and what it'll do to our national economy is breathtaking.
All right, Chal, you heard it. Coming together, kumbaya. You agree?
Yes, so, I think it's a balancing act, too. We are talking about an infrastructure bill that will address things like highways and I-10 and 45. So let's not forget our roads and bridges that are in desperate need of repair. I know that flooding and surges are very scary in this state. We all are affected. Nobody's immune to disasters like we saw in Harvey. And we were all doing something one way or another in this city and trying to manage and get this community back up and running and working. But let's just not forget other things that we want to have in our community, and that's infrastructure repairs.
All right, good discussion. Up next, violent, predatory, and free on bond. The alleged killers of a visiting New Orleans cop are the latest example of a local criminal justice system in crisis. Welcome back. The murder of a vacationing New Orleans police officer here in Houston has just added an excruciating exclamation point to the call for felony bond reform. We learned this week that both suspects accused of robbing and then executing Officer Everett Briscoe have been previously released by Harris County judges on multiple felony bonds. Crime Stoppers' Andy Kahn tells us Briscoe is one of 131 people killed in our community by criminals cut loose after previously committing crimes for which they could have been held in custody pending trial. Panel House lawmakers this weekend pushed through a measure many are praying will help limit bond-related future carnage. I'm going to start with you, Gary Pollan, because you practice law down in the criminal courthouse.
Yeah, well, the answer is we do need felony bond reform. We probably need misdemeanor bond reform, too. I mean, what happened was the do-gooders had a really pretty good idea. There were people getting stuck in jail for nonviolent offenses because they're poor, and that's not acceptable to anybody. However, we also have people with violent history that are getting out. There's set up now in our system. You get a misdemeanor case. You can be charged with terroristic threat, threatening to kill somebody. You get arrested. You never go to jail. You're processed in and out, and they give you a $100 bond. You sign a piece of paper. I'll agree to show up in court. That's it. So there's a problem with the system. There's been no evaluation of dangerousness. Dangerousness has been ignored. And the felony bond reform that Rodney Ellis was pushing in the Russell v. Texas case was going to empty the county jail, basically. So emptying the jail results in increased crime. The people are fed up with it, regardless of party, regardless of race, regardless of whether you're a citizen or an immigrant. It doesn't matter. It's got to be stopped. And that's what this bill is about, is trying to stop it and hoping that the judges who are letting these people go get the message that people who are dangerous need to be in jail.
Chow Win, you crusade for crime victims by choice and by profession. What's your take on this whole issue?
Let me tell you, I do agree with Gary that the system is flawed. This is a very bad system when people are getting out and committing other crimes and murdering innocent victims, like we saw in that heartbreaking story of the police officer in New Orleans. We see a number of survivors at the Houston Area Women's Center who are persecuted by their abusers. And I agree that there should be some stopgaps in place to ensure that women are safe, children are safe, families and communities are safe. But I am not clear that this felony bond reform is the right answer. It's talking about allowing people to get out on cash bonds. And that is what this society and the criminal justice system allows. All of these guys that we're looking at, number by number, almost every one of those 131 cases that Andy's tracking at Crime Stoppers, these guys are getting out on cash bonds. So the judges are giving them cash bonds. We're talking about no bond in capital murder cases that we've seen in New Orleans. So this is a flawed bill. We're looking at, big brothering charity organizations and limiting what they can do. I think at the end of the day, we just got to look at these cases in an individual case-by-case basis.
All right, Charles Blaine, I'm hoping you can help me out here, because there was a parallel constitutional amendment that could have been on the ballot in November, got derailed by the Democratic elopement. I mean, what's your take on what's going down? That constitutional amendment will give judges, if approved by the people of Texas, more power to keep people behind bars, I think.
Yeah, and just to Chow's point on that last piece, that charity part that they put in that bill, I don't understand that either. That really didn't make much sense to me. But this whole issue with bail reform at the legislature, it's incredibly important, particularly here in Harris County. But you want to know who registered against it to testify against it? That was Harris County. And you want to know, at the same time, this past week when Houston City Council held their public safety committee hearing, did they talk about this murder, or did they talk about this bill? No, they talked about open carry, and they talked about police reform. Now, police reform is quite important, but given the fact that crime is top of mind for everybody in this city and county, one would expect our city and county leaders to actually speak about it and do something. And just remember that judges are up for election in 2022, and people need to know and do some research about who they're going to vote for, because what's been happening is absolutely crazy, and it's based on people just voting down ballot and not knowing who they're voting for.
Tony, there's real fear out there. I mean, people are afraid that they could become crime victims more than they have been in the past. What are your thoughts?
People are very scared of a crime wave that's going on. The problem is that a lot of politicians are using this real issue that's affecting our families to grandstand, because the questions I want to hear asked would be, well, one of these assailants was out on bail for $180,000. He posted that bail. Additionally, he was supposed to be using an ankle monitor. He broke out of it. Why aren't these cases getting faster to court, quicker? If they're more dangerous, get them into court quicker. I would like to know and believe in the system. Got to stop you there. We got to go to break. Good discussion. Just ahead, heavy scrapping at Harris County Commissioner's Court. The accusations, the name calling, and a fact check on the multi-million-dollar COVID contract, which many believe fails the smell test. A spectacle. I could use other terms to describe what unfolded at Harris County Commissioner's Court, but this is, after all, Sunday morning, and even we have standards. Suffice it to say, when discussion turned to a highly suspect $11 million COVID-19 communication contract awarded to a one-woman firm with few resources and a very short corporate track record, Judge Lena Hidalgo went on the attack, and Precinct 4 Commissioner Jack Cagle wasn't having it.
Miss, we can't start with a bold-faced lie, which you're pitching to the
Judge, I take umbrage at calling that a bold-faced lie.
Okay. You know
I am not lying, Your Honor. I pay you respect. Now, I may have a different perspective from you, but I am not lying.
Let's go at it. Let's go at it.
Their website. You called me a liar.
Because you're out there implying that this is a woman working out of an apartment, and you know that's a lie. It's not true.
It is not a lie, Judge. The
hear-
website,
Okay.
the words are confusing to you, myself.
And you'll bring it on. Bring it on, because there is nothing here. Commissioner Garcia?
Thank you.
Other than an appropriate COVID response and someone who's gone to lengths to even avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest. So, bring it.
Within hours, even the Hidalgo-friendly Houston Chronicle had confirmed Cagle was right and the judge on the wrong side of the truth. Panel Hidalgo went on to attack the integrity of Republicans on the court for taking contributions from people seeking business from the county, apparently unconcerned or perhaps unaware that her two Democratic allies on court do the exact same thing. Let's start with Gary Pollan.
The Empress has no clothes, and that's what we now know. She doesn't know what she's doing, or she's totally corrupt. Because this contract to this one-person firm in an apartment, Greg, that, by the way, you uncovered, is breathtakingly stupid. Number one, I don't think it's going to do much good in terms of getting vaccinations done. Number two, she's not qualified, and they even waived bidding requirements for this, so she could qualify. And then she bald-faced lies and accuses Commissioner Cagle of not telling the truth when she's the one who was lying or ignorant. Look, we knew when we got Lena Hidalgo, it was amateur hour. Tony, no offense. Tony Diaz is better qualified to be county judge than she was, and she needs to get out of office as soon as possible because she is hurting the county.
Okay, Tony, you heard it. An endorsement, but also do you want to lodge a defense for Hidalgo?
Well, I reject the endorsement. Additionally, I know Commissioner Cagle. I've chatted with him about literature. He's very well spoken and polite. So I was offended the way he spoke to Judge Lena Hidalgo, especially because this was just a factual issue. If you've both got a beef about the facts, you can scrutinize it. I've never seen Commissioner Cagle talk like that to Emmett or to anyone else. And as far as the Republican Party goes, this sort of pushback, which is offensive, began when she first got the job and started having her press conferences in Spanish. Another commissioner from another county said, "Is this Mexico?" He walked those words back. But it's been the same kind of system pushing back on her because she's changing it. And this really, to me, reveals how these Republicans will speak to us, because let's get something straight. She represents
Wait a second,
us.
Tony. Wait a second. She called him a liar. She called him a liar, and it wasn't true. She called him a liar. Charles, take it over. You got 20 seconds.
You cannot conflate, Tony. You cannot conflate two issues. With another commissioner, another.
Now you're yelling. You're yelling like he did.
When another commissioner, another county has nothing to do with what happened here.
He shows how they're going to treat our tias, our hermanas, and our sisters.
Called him a liar.
Marcus, I thought you were talking.
And show where
Marcus
it was a one-person contract.
This is not how they should act. It's simple policy.
Okay, guys. Okay. Hey, whoa. We got to go to break. We're going to continue to talk about this. Still ahead. A Supreme Court decision that may just slow the crushing influx of undocumented immigrants. And later, after months of Democratic delay tactics, Texas Republicans push through their vision of voting reform. Welcome back. The U.S. Supreme Court cleared the way this week for reinstatement of the Trump-era immigration policy known as Wait in Mexico. Conservatives credited the protocol with vastly reducing the flow of undocumented immigrants by requiring those seeking asylum to remain south of the border until their court hearing. Republicans say the Biden administration's lifting of the policy triggered an onslaught of illegal crossings, which have overwhelmed federal authorities and blindsided under-resourced border communities with crime. Panel, given what's unfolding in Texas, should the president simply comply with the ruling as a practical means of regaining some control? I'm going to start with you, Marcus Davis.
Oh, no, I want to defer. I want to hear what Charles Blank has to say.
All right,
Please.
Go ahead, Charles.
He should comply. I think, of course, he should. Do I think he will? Probably not. I know that the administration said that they're appealing a lower district's court ruling that spurred this Supreme Court ruling. So I think they're going to do everything in their power to challenge this, to vigorously challenge it, I think was their exact word. So no, I don't think they will, unless they get a series of orders handed down saying that they have no other option. And even then, they might narrowly tailor it.
Okay, Chow, jump in here.
I'm just very concerned about, in the work space that I occupy, we're talking about survivors and women who are fleeing their countries to escape brutality, violence from their abusers, violence from the government. That is always my concern. We see a number of women at the Houston Area Women's Center who are awaiting visas because of things that are happening in their own country, and coming to this country ensures some level of safety.
All right, Tony, jump in. We're going to let Gary close. Take about 30 seconds.
Republicans keep talking about this mythical line, get in front of the line, back of the line. They keep moving the line. The goalposts keep getting moved, for one thing. And secondly, Republicans really miss the inhumanitarian actions of Donald Trump. So they are going to overlook all the stuff that Biden's doing to kind of gain a control of this big mess. They should get to work. Pass immigration reform, because you need to address all the illegal Americans hiring undocumented labor right now. While we're on the show, it's going on all around us. They should talk about all the illegal Americans buy illegal drugs because they're addicted, funding the cartels. The cartels business could be sabotaged. That's part of the equation as well. And at the end of the day, we are conflating a major blunder and international proportions, and it's also discriminatory in some ways. Let's get this fixed, because yes, streets should be safer. Cartels should be controlled. Women who are fleeing, jerks who are abusive should be given shelter. And at the end of the day, Americans who have to get illegal labor shouldn't have to stay and become illegal Americans. Help those businessmen.
Tony, got to go to Gary for the final 25 seconds.
Thank you. And look, the bottom line here is we need to have immigration reform. I agree. We need to get rid of open borders. We need to be concerned about refugees of need, as Chow has talked about, and that should be considered. But think about this. The Remain in Mexico policy was a good idea, I believe. However, the problem was our immigration court system is backed up so much that people could be waiting months and months and even years to be adjudicated. So the whole system's a mess. And you know what's interesting? No matter who's in control in Washington, nothing gets done.
Got to leave it there. Up next, the $1 billion plus our state will soon spend to defend the porous border. We'll discuss how the money is being used and whether jails, fences, and cash grants for local police can truly make a difference.
Sometimes they'll run in tandem. One vehicle has illegal aliens, one vehicle is loaded with dope. So what they'll do is they'll take the vehicle with illegal aliens and they will interfere with your pursuit of the vehicle loaded with dope, so that they'll start slinging the truck around trying to throw the illegal aliens out of the bed of the truck so that you have to stop and render aid.
Goliad County Sheriff Roy Boyd describing the brutal lawlessness enveloping rural communities throughout the state. Governor Greg Abbott and Republican allies in the Texas legislature are responding with more than $1 billion additional dollars for border security, grants for underfunded local law enforcement, new jails for uninvited immigrants accused of trespassing, and hundreds of millions of dollars for strategic border fencing. Panel, these are state dollars being spent to do a job many believe President Biden and the federal government have all but abandoned. Now let's pause and check our poll results. Earlier we asked, if it were up to you, how should the $1.8 billion Governor Abbott is requesting for border security be spent? 80% said border security. Number two, the closest, power grid, 12%. Okay, let's keep talking about this issue. Gary Pollan, we left with you on the issue of border security. Finish up your comment.
Stepping in where the federal government has abandoned it. And look, if Trump wanted to build the wall and finish it on his administration, he probably should have done it and probably could have found ways to do it. But Biden comes in and on day one, they abandon everything. So we got holes in the wall. If the experts believe that the wall will discourage illegal entry into the country, that's a good thing, and we should probably finish it. It should be a priority. I mean, those South Texas counties are suffering under basically what's an invasion. It doesn't mean, again, Tony, that some of these people trying to get in are not going to be able to come in legally, but that's how we got to do it.
Okay, Marcus, don't dodge this issue.
I wasn't trying to dodge the last one, but look, I agree. This problem has to be solved. It's not being solved because of partisan politics. It's not being solved because there's this underlying idea that we need to continue to bolster our economy through a particular workforce or working class and all of it. And we're just not talking about that. It's a bunch of hogwash. Gary, I do have a little bit of an issue with this idea of, but I'll go to Tony. But look, partisan politics is the problem. We're not interested in solving. But I'll say it, Gary, I'm always intrigued when Republicans, on one hand, talk about states' rights and autonomy, but then when it has a problem, we need the federal government to come and help us.
Well, they're not doing their job, so we need to.
Tony, take 20 seconds, leave some time for the others.
Regarding our survey, I think Gary voted 80 times, so already that's suspect. and if you want to go to surveys, even Donald Trump, who won his first term by that terrible discriminatory slogan, build a wall, he stopped using it when he ran for election the second time. Why? He didn't want to fix immigration, and he doesn't care who he supports as long as he got power. He knew it stopped working. The people saw through that he really wasn't going to fix immigration, and that wasn't a real solution. That's why he stopped following it. So if Republicans, they want to plagiarize Donald Trump and keep pushing that, let them, because that doesn't lead to victory.
Quick answer, Charles. What does that 80% number tell you?
I mean, listen, I think border residents told us last November and then in January when they asked for the wall to be continued what they wanted. I think they want security. And as long as the federal government fails to do it, the states have to step in. That includes New Mexico, California, Arizona, and Texas.
Got to leave it there. Still ahead. Democrats tried to label it Jim Crow 2, but after weeks of drastic derailment attempts, Senate Bill 1 will soon be law in the Lone Star State. We all knew it would end this way. After 6 weeks of screaming Jim Crow 2 and voter suppression, Texas Democrats watched helplessly as the Republican version of election reform gained legislative approval. Those outside the partisan realm who've examined the actual bill sum it up this way. If you believe that Texans had adequate access to the polls prior to the pandemic, then Senate Bill 1 should cause you little concern. However, if you believe that future denial of pandemic-driven accommodations like 24-hour polling and drive-through voting amounts to suppression, then you have a reason to gripe. As for Democrats changing many minds on this issue, here's a succinct assessment from Texas Tribune editor Ross Ramsey.
I think only the true believers were watching this, and the rest of us were watching COVID and the Olympics.
All right, bottom line, elections have consequences, and if Democrats want to dramatically expand access to the polls, they've got to figure out how to win statewide. Throw that at you, Chow Win.
Well, it's a given that the Democrats have to work a little bit harder. Words matter, like voter suppression. I guess my mother won't be drive-through voting in the coming elections, but what I can say is, you heard it. I mean, sometimes things go both ways. It'll be interesting to see what will happen in the next election, how Republicans will or will not turn out for this.
All right, I want to be clear that it's not headed to Abbott's desk right now. It's still being worked on, but versions have been passed by both the House and the Senate. Charles, what's your take on what the Democrats managed to do?
I mean, I think they were successful in nationalizing this issue. I mean, he's on every national morning show for weeks on end. But truly, the lightning rod language that they use about this, I think people saw through it. And I think they saw that it wasn't voter suppression. They might have disagreed with what was in the bill, regular people and the Democrats in the Texas House, but it wasn't voter suppression. And using that language, I think really just it eroded their own argument. They should have just argued on merit and made a case for what they disagreed with about the bill, rather than trying to use lightning rod language that they knew was just going to strike fear in people's hearts.
Okay, Tony, 30 seconds.
Enough with the politicians and the political point of view. I want to answer this like an activist and community organizer. And I want to remind Republicans that activists and community organizers flipped Arizona, which Texas has now replaced as the most far-right state. I also want to add that the Republicans revealed their vulnerabilities. What are they so proud of? They have the governorship, they run the Senate, they run the House. This could have been a slam dunk. Their agenda should be priority. They can't bungle running the whole place. So they can't get all the priority issues passed. They had to have several sessions. They can't even catch all the Democrats. Democrats just got tired. So.
All right, Marcus, final 30 seconds. It's tight. 30 seconds.
All right, so I'll just go with this. It is absolutely offensive to call this Jim Crow number 2. while I disagree with the whole idea of what the Republicans are trying to do, I completely disagree with this idea of voter suppression equivalent to that of my grandmother or grandfather. That is just absolutely absurd. There are absolutely 10 plus days with 10 plus hours to go to the polls and vote, including early voting. If you have not gotten your lazy behind up and gone to the poll and voted in that time, I'm sorry, buddy. That's on you.
All right, we got to leave it right there. We're going to be right back, so don't go away. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us. The conversation continues on a national level next with Fox News Sunday and host Chris Wallace. And we'll keep talking here with What's Your Point Overtime, streaming on fox26houston.com and on our Facebook page. From all of us here, have a safe and healthy week. We're wishing our best for our friends over in Louisiana.